I don't see how that's a party.
Dr. Banner, now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
So going into middle school and high school, you might think would be like, catastrophe, right? Because of obviously what I've been going through for the last 2 episodes of this whole thing is being real mad and aggressive. And I'm not going to say that I wasn't angry going through middle school and high school. I hated middle school and high school. If you're in middle school or high school, you probably know what I'm talking about. Even if you like hang out with the cool kids or whatever, it is a bad experience. I hated middle school and high school. And I'm not going to say that I didn't get in fights with like random people, and me and my brother fought a lot in the backyard, just being brothers and all that good stuff. But what really happened in between, middle school, high school, and even through college is that I kind of transformed. I became a more peaceful me, right? Even though I still had a bit of like anger issues and stuff going on, I started to kind of be creative and artsy. I got into, I've always been an artist. I've always been fairly good at drawing pictures and stuff like that. And when I got into like middle school and high school, I really just started to focus on that. I let that be an outlet for me. Very similar to like when you see, obviously we've been talking about the Incredible Hulk, but there's another person, right? It's the scientist, Dr. Banner, right? A lot of times when we see him in movies or we see him depicted in comics, he's like in some third world country trying to like save people's lives and stuff. That's the way he calms down, because he knows that nobody's going to bother him. He can help people, and that's sort of the way that he gets away from that monster, you know what I mean, that he doesn't really want to be. And that's kind of what I did. That's kind of what I decided to take on, between like middle school and college. Is I got into a lot of things, man. I got into basketball. I got into, which basketball, it's a social sport. You have to connect with people. You have to have that team chemistry, all that kind of stuff. I played Recreation League 2 years. We ended up winning the championship both years that I played. And I was the second highest scoring person on the team both years. So that was a really cool experience, really uplifting, really positive for me. And it allowed me to kind of get away from what I hated about life, right? Which was all the negativity. It allowed me to be something that I didn't ever think that I could be. And then I really started to focus on my art. I've always been really good at drawing pictures and stuff. And I remember me and my brother got in a competition one time. It was in some magazine or something, but it was who could draw one of the next Mega Man characters. Now, it wasn't Mega Man. It was like one of the enemy characters, like one of the bosses that you fight. It was some competition. I forget what it was for, but it was in some magazine. And so we would sit there and think up these abilities for these enemy type Mega Man characters and all that kind of stuff. And I would draw them out. And me and my brother even designed our own gaming console and actually sent it to Nintendo and actually got a response. We did a bunch of cool stuff. That was the time in my life that I started to enjoy life, and I stopped hating people, and I just started enjoying, hanging around people and doing stuff. And even though I didn't really hang out with too many people in high school, I wasn't the party going type. My dad actually, he wasn't an alcoholic, but he liked to drink on the weekends, and I watched the kind of person that he would become when he, drank and all that stuff. And I was like, man, I don't ever want to do that, because, when he was drinking, he acted like an idiot, you know what I mean? And I'm just, me and my dad have a really good relationship, but he did. And I think, I'm not saying all people when they drink act like idiots, but the people that I've known in my real life who drink act like idiots. So that's all that I can really relate it to. So I was like, I really don't want to, go drinking or partying. So I would stay at home, man, and I would focus on my art. I would draw constantly, man. And I remember in high school, my teacher actually was taking a week's vacation. And, we had we had people that would stand in for him, people on staff, people that were in our class or whatever would actually stand in. Because a lot of us were, when you're in high school, you really don't do too much. You're just kind of there. And I was like, man, I talked to my art teacher, and I was like, let me teach class the whole week that you're gone. I want to teach all these kids, how I draw, because I won art contests when I was a kid. Everything changed, man. Like, life was on the upswing. and he let me do it. So I got to teach art class for like a whole week and teach people how to draw and all that kind of stuff. And I have this very unique way that I draw pictures. I don't even know if it's on the books anywhere. I don't even know if it's something like I invented, or maybe it's just something that's out there and I don't know it. But it's a very methodical way of drawing, and I basically feel like I can teach anybody how to draw any picture. It doesn't matter how complex it is. And I showed it off that week, and everybody was impressed. And like I said, I entered 2 art fairs and won them both. And then I went on to college, went to a very small school, did my thing there, and I eventually had to leave there because both of my parents became physically disabled from their jobs, and we lost pretty much all of our income with our family. And I think a lot of you guys have heard me say this before, that I used to work on a farm. That's kind of where that plays in. You know, that was another hurdle that I had to get across. Was, you know, I was in my 18, 19-year-old type range where everybody was out being really sociable, and I wasn't. You know, I was at home, bringing in the money from my family so we could all eat and pay bills. And how many 18, 19-year-olds do you know that was paying like adult bills? And I was. And I remember I was dating a girl at the time, and before I worked at that farm and had to take care of my family, we would go out every weekend. We'd get like these nice steak dinners, and we'd hang out and all that kind of stuff. And I remember when I got that job, we were talking, and I said, look, I can't afford to be going out every weekend like we're used to, because I have to give all the money to my family, And I thought she'd be cool with that, right? I thought she'd be understanding and like, yeah, no problem. But it wasn't that way, man. We probably lasted like another 2 or 3 weeks, and she ended it because it wasn't the same quote-unquote lifestyle that we were used to. And I really found out then that there's a lot of people in this world who just can't deal with the real world. And when I say the real world, it's bills, you know what I mean? And I was at a maturity level in my life then, because I was helping my folks that, I really didn't have time to be a teenager, if that makes sense. So when she broke up with me, I didn't even think negative about it. I was like, you know what? I'm helping my family. I'm doing what I got to do. And I was happy. And I was like, this is just going to give me more time to work, because pretty much at the farm I was at, you could get as many hours as you wanted to. So I was getting like probably 50, 60 hours a week at the farm, filling in for people, doing odd jobs. And then I also was in theater. My brother was actually in theater as well. He came home from college one summer and started like a theater group that I was in, and there was probably about 25 of us. He did a really good job starting it, but then he had to go back to school. And he was like, man, why don't you run it? And I said, I'll try, I'll give it a shot. So between, working on the farm, going to college, I also did theater. So, and I also drew, I was still drawing pictures. So I was in a lot of different things, and it kept my mind occupied, right? Which is exactly what I needed. I needed something that said, this is you. You don't have to be the monster, right? You can just be this person. So everything in my life, man, everything in my life was going really, really well. Like, even though I was working hard and I was probably putting in, like I said, 50 to 60 hours on the farm. I was probably putting in another, 20 to 25 hours working with that theater. And then obviously all my other spare time I devoted to my art. Everything was going uphill, man. Like, I could not be stopped. I felt like I was just unstoppable. And I wasn't mad anymore. I wasn't angry. I was completely happy, man, for the first time, right, in my life. And it took that many years for me to get there, man. I was finally on the uphill climb, and everything was looking good. And you feel like you are freaking invincible. Nobody can touch you. Nobody can stop you, right? But you got to remember that deep down inside, just like it says at the beginning of this video, you're always angry, right? And I quickly found out that life would take a crazy turn, and it would reveal some stuff to me that I didn't know was there. And I was going to get stabbed in the back by a lot of people that I trusted, and I was about to lose everything that I had worked for so many years. And I'm going to call that stage in my life depression. And it was some dark times in my life. We're going to get in that in tomorrow's show. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Be good.